Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million strategy roundtable for entrepreneurs. 1M by 1M, as you know, is the first and only global virtual accelerator in the world for technology startups. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. And with the advent of DeepSeek, we see one more step in democratization of entrepreneurship. AI is now becoming cheaper, more efficient, and more people will be able to develop on AI platforms and build products, which is an exciting new development. This is our 673rd free public roundtable where we do this kind of mentoring sessions. This mentoring program started back in 2008. And we have pretty much been here, week after week, month after month, year after year, since 2008, fall of 2008. And as a result, we've had the opportunity to work with hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs in all corners of the world. And it's been a fascinating learning experience, not just teaching experience, also a learning experience to see what's happening in different parts of the world. We're going to start today's session with a long-term colleague of mine from the industry, Raju Reddy, who has been both a CEO as well as an investor. And he has particular perspective to bring to this conversation. And I'm very sure you will learn a lot from the conversation. So let's get started. Raju, welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning, Shramana. Thank you. Glad to be here.
So Raju, I want to start in an area which you spent a lot of years of your life in, which is dramatically changing with the advent of AI, which is the services industry. So whether it is IT services or outsourced services seems to be poised for a major refurbishing with the advent of AI. How do you view this opportunity?
Yeah. Well, to begin with, I don't think we have seen a disruption, whether it is services or products, as big as what AI has been doing since the advent of internet, I would say, right? We've had many other technology shifts, whether it is cloud, mobile. Many of them have had a huge impact on the industry, but nothing like what internet has done, and likewise today with AI. And so I spend significant amount of my time now, investing in seed stage startups. Most of them are in the product space, but there are a few that are still in services. Increasingly, I think the sort of the borderline between what you would call a product offering versus a pure services model has been sort of shifting or even fading over the last 10 years, even before AI, right? And now with the advent of AI, I do see that I think there is a significant need for what you would call a human in the loop, kind of, the human in the loop services. And there are a bunch of sort of new age, companies that are coming into play, a few that I'm involved with directly, like Cognita. I don't know if you heard about that, or Critical River, that are purely, traditional services companies, but much more led with some sort of a core, IP based service offerings. But yeah, now once again, I think there's also a shift in how the products and services are sort of starting to overlap in many of these cases.
Yes, so I think your point is exactly right. We are seeing human-centric AI, which means human needs to be in the loop using that AI, and it's giving rise to a few different kinds of business models that are a bit of an evolution from where we were earlier. And one that is coming up a lot is, with software as a service and the whole cloud movement, we went to a do-it-yourself model. Companies are selling software products as, software as a service, but it's really products. And then you expect the clients, the B2B clients, to be doing whatever they want to do by themselves. But now with AI, this model is shifting a little bit to do it for me also. So human in the loop can go in two different directions. Either it's human in the loop in the client's shop, or it's human in the loop in the vendor's shop, where it is do it for me model. So there is whatever is the IP underneath, there is a human who's sitting there and using that IP and delivering the value as a do it for me model.
Yeah.
And in some cases, it's the human is sitting inside the customer's shop and using the product and delivering the value.
Yeah. I
see-
think the one segment of the services industry that is probably right in the middle of a huge transition is really the BPO industry, and that frankly I think most of us don't yet know how disruptive it's going to be, just in terms of there are millions of people employed in the BPO industry today. So it's arguable whether you need as many people now.
Yes.
Going forward, it's almost certain you don't need as many. But the question is, what fraction of that do you need in the future of BPO industry? Say 5 years from now, what does the BPO industry look like?
Yeah.
I think that's a fundamental question that I think many of these companies, in the BPO, kind of loosely called KPO, that segment of the industry, are trying to figure out. Yeah. But like anything, there are always newer opportunities, and so
But
in
also
any
the
discussion.
software development is getting hugely streamlined, right? The co-pilots are becoming extremely effective. So you don't need as many people on the software services side as well. And there are a lot of co-pilot products that are getting sold into that business.
Yeah.
So there's a whole market emerging out of efficiency in the software development ecosystem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about these companies that you mentioned as use cases and case studies of what you're investing in. Cognita and Critical River are two that you just mentioned. Could you talk to us about what these companies are doing and how these models are playing into their situations?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. These are more, services led companies, but purely on the product side too, and that are much more AI first kind of companies that I'm involved with, and some of that is on my is in public information. The companies that I'm on the board of called SciSpace, for example, that's much more in uh, accelerating research. Think of it as a much more modern version of Google Scholar that is getting very, very solid traction. We started monetizing just in October of 23, and we're at about 5 times where we plan to be by end of 24, right? And it has well over 7 million, users today. And just in the last 28 days, we've added, a couple million new users to that. So this is, I think the takeoff and the traction is very real when you have a product that the market is looking for. And I mean, I can go into each of these in more detail if necessary, but just yeah. So SciSpace is a fantastic example of that.
So can you talk more about SciSpace, Raju? What is the audience? Is it researchers in universities, academia? What is the audience?
Yes, yes. Anybody who's doing research, publishing papers, or uh, really analyzing research papers to make their decisions, right? So this could be in academia, certainly is a big part of it, but it could also be in the corporate world, like in the pharma, healthcare sector, and all of that, right? There are a lot of the research labs, in the world outside of what you would call normally just universities.
Sure.
And so they're all the customers for SciSpace. and you can look it up, SCI space. It's all one word. It's a company, started well before Gen AI, specifically ChatGPT, came into marketplace. More around ML is how they started building it, and but they certainly got a great tailwind here with Gen AI becoming more commonplace now, and with all the models becoming much richer, so they're able to deliver a much higher value, sort of research capabilities, both for publishing research papers, but also doing, deep research analysis on any topic that typically a research lab might be dealing with. Yeah.
Interesting. And you quoted some very big numbers in terms of customer addition. In 28 days, 2 million customers added.
2 million users.
Users, okay. How
Out of that, a fraction of them are paying customers, but yeah.
are people finding this? Is it all search engine optimization? People are just finding through word of mouth? What is
Yeah, it's been mostly that. That's the interesting thing, Ramana. I mean, we haven't even started spending any marketing dollars, and so it's been largely word of mouth and quite a bit on Twitter. I didn't know that, but I didn't know these scientists hang out on Twitter, but they do, or at least they, sort of get the feed from that, and so. But yeah, it's been largely word of mouth, and yeah, it's just been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else have you invested in that is interesting? This is very interesting. What you just described is
Yeah.
very interesting.
Well, there are a few other companies. There's one called Flam, which is again, this is all public information. So actually, Google used them for. It's basically in the advertising space. So it brings your print ads to life. So when you sort of take your camera and it's mixed reality, but again, there's a lot of AI within that. This is not necessarily Gen AI, but AI. And again, this is a company that's really caught on fire, just in terms of how it's sort of disrupting the advertising industry. Typically, print ads are sort of it's a dwindling market, but now just by taking your phone and pointing to uh, the QR code, which is like a specific thing that's coded in there on the in a print ad, the video starts playing within that frame. So Samsung recently introduced a feature called Circle to Search along with Google, and so they used Flamp for that, and several large sort of enterprises have been using that. This is yeah, the product came into market about an year ago, and yeah, the company is doing extremely well. And again, these are all young first-time entrepreneurs, whether it's iSpace or Flam. Uh, Now, one of the areas that I'm sort of spending more time now is looking at companies, not just at the application level, but really as more of these AI apps become, a big part of the economy in the tech industry. I believe on the infrastructure side, it's going to put a lot of strain or demand thereby for uh, better performance, better reliability, security, and things like that. So there is a company that's kind of in stealth mode, uh, you know, uh, called Akash X, started by a bunch of these sort of, you know, tech wizards, I like to think of them, coming from the database world, that are building this. Essentially, uh, all your LLMs, LLM queries, the underlying layer, it translates into a bunch of SQL queries. So how do you execute those SQL queries much faster and with a higher reliability is kind of what that's the problem that they're solving. but my point is, as you know, a lot of founders, entrepreneurs are looking at how can I use AI for a certain kind of business problem or whatever. Uh, I personally think there are going to be a lot of opportunities at the infrastructure level, at the infrastructure layer, uh, given the sort of demands that these AI apps are going to put on the infra.
You know, we've had several discussions on AI-enabled drug discovery in towards the end of last year, and we have covered AI-enabled drug discovery on our blog quite extensively. It's an area that I think is super exciting and super promising. Now, the conclusion that was coming out of those discussions was that for AI-enabled drug discovery, you need basically the platforms that are out there, like Atomwise, for example, are selling only to the large pharmas. So if you're a researcher at a university or or if you're trying to do a startup in drug discovery, you don't really have access to the infrastructure that you need to be able to, develop your products. But I think DeepSeek changes a lot of that assumption, and DeepSeek is going to spawn a lot of infrastructure layer innovation. I think somewhere the fusion between pure infrastructure layer as well as domain-specific models, that combination is also going to create a platform layer that is going to be really interesting in terms of enabling a lot of innovation at those levels as well. So for example, if you combine a DeepSeek or comparable efficient model, train it in the pharmaceutical industry kind of data, and that's something that startups use to come up with new drugs based on their areas of expertise, that would be one of the ways to unlock drug discovery as a startup exercise, as opposed to just happening inside of pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. No, actually, you bring up a great point. The way I think about that, Shramana, is, when we say researcher, right? Normally, we tend to think of somebody who's got a PhD degree, sitting in a lab, working on. So that may be, I don't know, 5 million people in the world, or 10 million at the most. But, there are probably 100 million people who, are absolutely, have that capacity without necessarily a PhD, but more importantly, have that inquisitive mind on sort of, wanting to learn and, sort of explore specific topics. Um, and that's really what these tools like SciSpace do, right? It now allows many more of these sort of inquisitive minds around the world to, essentially accomplish what a researcher in a lab might be able to do because of these sort of tools and all of that. Actually, as I was talking about it, I just remembered, several years ago, there was an X Prize competition for, I think this was after the Exxon, oil spill accident. Sort of, how do you clean up the, oil damage in the ocean and all of that? And so one of the top three, contestants, they didn't win the final prize, but they were one of the top three. Interestingly, it came from a tattoo parlor in Las Vegas, right? So these are not scientists, obviously, but they had that inquisitive mind. They had some knowledge of, I guess, how tattoos are removed or placed or whatever. So I'm just that's to me is sort of a real example of what
Where innovation comes from. And I think
exactly,
that
and these are the tools that make that possible, right?
yes. So there is an incredibly exciting improvement in tools and infrastructure, and there's a lot of entrepreneurship going on and innovation going on in both of those, and especially the DeepSeek moment is driving efficiency into the system. That's number one. Number two, to me, that is really exciting is domain knowledge, right? There's a lot of domain knowledge in a lot of places. So if people can have access to infrastructure and don't need to be in a large company to have access to infrastructure, if they can have access to efficient infrastructure, they can apply their domain knowledge and start entrepreneurial ventures in a very scrappy bootstrap manner. That is extremely exciting for me.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. So a lot of times when entrepreneurs come to me with their pitch on saying, "Oh, this AI, this thing, AI that," you know, I mean, that was okay. I would say maybe year or year and a half ago, but today it's like saying, well, I'm writing computer software, right? I mean, AI is such integral part of it. So what really separates you from any other entrepreneur, having that understanding of the domain
Yeah.
and, the business problem and if and how well you're solving that, right? So just saying I'm using AI to solve the problem is, no longer a meaningful differentiator.
Yeah. The other really interesting area where we started this conversation that I also find very promising is that there are a lot of services companies out there, and there's so much AI technology right now to make services efficient. You almost can productize your services. If you have if you have 100 clients that you're providing services to, you should be able to use AI to dramatically get margin out of those businesses.
Yeah.
Which is another interesting development for bootstrapped entrepreneurship in particular. And as you know, we support bootstrapped entrepreneurship very, very seriously. We have companies in the program right now that's in the area of, as you said, advertising, marketing, social media marketing kind of stuff. There is a lot going on in those areas where inserting AI into the models can really gain efficiency. And when you were doing your services company,
yes,
people considered services companies not really venture fundable until they reached very high levels of revenues, right? Your company, Persistent, Anand Deshpande, you guys raised venture capital, but it was much later in the game.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
But I think
that was 20 years ago, but yeah.
That was 20 years ago. But today, I think some of these services companies, because of this human in the loop, because of these ability to get so much more margin and so much more repeatability out of these ventures, some of these companies are going to become venture fundable.
Yeah. I think that's definitely happening. I mean, Cognita is public information. They just raised $15 million from Nexus and others. Yeah.
What does Cognita do? Could you discuss?
Cognita, I mean, it started as sort of an AI first MLOps company about 3 years ago. And this is all my ex-Air Atlantic guys. And some of them went on to become senior executives at Hitachi and all of that. And so they came together a little bit like the Mindtree team that came out of Wipro, and about seven of them, I think 7 or 8 of them in Cognita that started about 3 years ago, and doing extremely well. Again, with exactly like what you said, sort of IP-led services, and they have a product called Zuno that they use, but they are fundamentally a services company. To deliver these solutions in the enterprise space. And
and if you look at, there are two companies that are on my radar. Of course, Palantir is a services company, fundamentally a services company, IP-led services companies. That is a great example of an incredibly highly valued company.
Yes.
A company that I don't know if you're monitoring it, called Machinify. That's been around for a little while.
I see. Okay.
They just merged with 2 other companies. It's like a bit of a roll-up. AI services, IP-led services in the healthcare space, health insurance space.
Okay, I'll look it up. I know of Mu Sigma, Fractal, there are a few like that that have reached good scale.
Machinify, the 3-company combined roll-up is $500 million ARR.
I see. Very nice.
So
and they probably have gross margins, much higher than traditional service companies, right? Yeah. Because in the end, all of these, you can say IP-led and all that, but unless it reflects in your gross margins, it's not a sort of a proven model yet. But all of these, I mean, look at Palantir, very, very high
Very
gross
high growth
margins. And
margin, yeah. The main objection to services companies from the venture capital world was one, gross margin, and two, repeatability. You know, if you can crack those two nuts, then you have a venture fundable high scale company within the services model as well.
yeah, yeah.
What else? What else are you looking at, thinking about, interested in investing in terms of AI companies? What are you looking for? For example, if you, you know, if something come to you that you would like to invest in.
Yeah, so for me, Shramana, it's, pretty much all my investments have been at a very early seed stage. And many of them actually, it was even the first check that I wrote, right? That the founder raised. Over the last 3 years, earlier I used to do this as an individual angel, but over the last 3.5 years now, I do that with a couple of people that have, great friends, and I love working with them. Great respect for Kanwal Reki, who you probably know about anyway. He's a legend in the valley. And other person is BV Jagdish, who
Oh, Jagdish,
is
okay.
also very well known. And then there's an operating partner, my name Rajan. So four of us have been investing in the name of what's called SVQ, Silicon Valley Quad. So we typically invest like $2 to $2.5 million, 2 to 3, I would say, 2 to 3 mil as a seed stage. And again, nothing has really changed, whether it is AI or whatever, in terms of sort of philosophy of how I look at startups that I invest in. It's always a bet on the people, the founder and his or her sort of leadership team, right? Now, clearly, you want to go after a market that's large enough. As I mentioned, if somebody comes to me with too much of sort of this AI, then I'm a bit more skeptical. This is not to say I won't invest in that, but if they talk to me more about sort of the business problems and I mean, one of the things I look for is sort of answer to two questions, right? Why you and why now? What is it about your background that gives you unique insight into understanding this problem
Domain
that others
knowledge. Domain
right?
knowledge is
Yeah, exactly,
premium.
exactly. Yeah, sometimes it's understanding the problem, and sometimes it may be maybe the problem is widely known, but you have a certain insight into addressing that problem that others won't, right? And that typically comes from having been at. That's why you see a lot of, you know, uh, very successful companies come out by founders coming from a large company like Google or Oracle or VMware or whatever, right? Because unless you're at one of those places, you are unlikely to have seen that problem.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's a necessary condition, not at all, but that's one of the reasons why. So why you? That's part of it. The other is why now. So what's happening in the industry that makes this the need for this problem so compelling, right? For instance, like when I talked about the AI, the infra required to support all these AI explosion, to me, I think that's very real. So, now within that, of course, there are various layers of whether it is security, speed or whatever, performance and all of that, but or storage. So there you have, yeah, different entrepreneurs. So the philosophy of sort of how and why I invest in a startup has really not changed. But AI is, of course, almost like, as I said, just a integral part of any product idea people are working on. Yeah. And now it'll be interesting to see with the announcement yesterday of quantum computing by Microsoft,
Yes.
what that does. And when you combine quantum computing capabilities with AI, and it's mind-boggling,
Where are we going? Absolutely.
yeah, exactly.
Super.
Both good and bad, by the way. I mean, there is also even with AI, it's tough enough with, all the ways that it can harm the.
Yeah. I think both the combination of AI and quantum computing is a tremendous threat for cybersecurity as well.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Anything can be cracked,
Yeah,
basically. In the hands of the bad actors, anything can be cracked.
exactly.
It's a very dangerous thing
Yeah,
also.
yeah.
Well, wonderful. Would you like to stay for the pitch? We have a pitch after this.
Happy to do this, Ramana. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah.
Folks, we are going to listen to an entrepreneur pitch and mentor Ashutosh in a moment. I just want to set expectations to all of you who are listening, whether you're pitching today or in another session. Remember, this is a safe working session. There's no other agenda other than, trying to add value to your journey and giving you some somewhat experienced input. If you disagree with the feedback you get here, that's fine. It's your venture. You do what you want. But the feedback comes with lots of experience, so please consider it and at least try to understand where it's coming from. Ashutosh Paretkar from Mumbai, India is the presenter. Ashutosh, please unmute your line and tell us what you're working on.
My name is Ashutosh. Hi, Shramana. Hi, Raju.
Ashutosh.
So I am from India. I'm from Mumbai. I have about 20 years of experience, 20 plus years of experience across market research, consumer insights, strategy, and media. Now, after this, I joined hands with one of my partners called Himanshu Shah. Himanshu is not here today, but I mean, I would have loved him to join, but he is not here for some personal reasons. So I am representing Talk today, and I joined hands with him to build this platform, growth tech platform for SMEs and enterprises. So if you could go to the next slide, Shramana, this is essentially about us, and I told you so. While we were working, in different companies and enterprises, and we were working in our previous avatars, we also handled loyalty programs for many enterprises. And what we realized is one of the key things that we realized is that it is something that needs to be done. So it's more like a tick box. Everybody does it. Every manufacturer who's manufacturing something and pushing it downstream has to do it. So that's more like a necessary evil. But because it is a necessary evil, there are, there's no active involvement and interest that gets shown. But it's just more like, okay, yes, I have to do it. Now, that lack of interest essentially translates into technical or operational issues like the programs being very tactical, very earn and burn kind of a thing. So it's, you're just earning points, you're burning points, and it stays at that. There's no more innovation, nothing new coming up, and which is where beyond the point that loyalty program fails to engage people, and the core of that program, the DNA of the program kind of vanishes. We also realize that there are legacy platforms being used. There is a very, there's probably a hindrance or, not the willingness to innovate and, scale it up. Scaling issues happen because organizations do scale with time, but at the same time, with the same scope, the programs fail to scale, and that is where challenges happen. And a big revelation was that close to 20% of the program spends go in leakages. When I say leakages, it could actually be, retailers or your downstream channels not knowing exactly how to reap the benefits, or there are the opposite of it could be fraudulent beneficiaries being added so that, the actual beneficiary who should be getting the money is not getting it, or getting the rewards is not getting it. So those are the challenges that we saw. And hence, if you could go to the next slide, please. Hence, we realized that, there can be a solution to this, and hence Talk came into existence. Talk is a platform which essentially tries to address most or all of these challenges to a large extent. It is a tech platform enabled for growth. We are basically doing three things. One, we are generating demand. We are strengthening the downstream channel and influencer network, and we are establishing engaging connections. Now, why we say generating demand is because one of the key equations that my spends and my growth, my revenue is not correlated. Most people used to think, and because that, like in the previous slide, like I said, that people were not showing interest simply because the correlation between how much I'm spending on loyalty and how much revenue or how much return I'm getting out of it is something that was missing. That link was missing. Our program plans to join the dots that way. If you could go to the
Ashutosh,
next
can I stop you for
Yes.
one moment?
Sure, Sandeep.
What workflow, what business workflow are we talking about? Is this between the manufacturer of the brands and the retailers who are selling those brands?
Yes, it is that.
So you need to
So
start by articulating that, because we've been listening to you for 3 minutes, but I'm trying to figure out, and I'm sure others in the room listening to you are trying to figure out, like, whom are you talking? Who's the customer? Who's the, whose problem are you solving?
Sure.
Yeah.
So essentially, we are a B2B loyalty platform aimed at manufacturers, and we are planning to try and solve the problems that they
Who's the
have while
customer?
connecting.
Who's buying
Is
your
there a
product?
particular segment of the manufacturing? When you say manufacturing, these are companies that do over $100 million in sales or $10
Yes,
billion. Is
in
there a
fact,
particular
those
segment
details
of
are
that
there.
where the problem is particularly compelling and that you're going after?
Well, the problem is more of a universal problem. It's not that it is a specific problem to any particular set of customers. Even if you take enterprises like a Mahindra or a Tata Sky or maybe a Tata Motors kind of a company, which is a enterprise level company, and SMEs who are based in tier 2 towns of India, they are also facing the same issues.
But
So
who
the
are you
issues
going
remain the
after?
same.
I mean,
Issues is not the issue. Issues is not the issue. Whom you go after is going to drive
Yes,
your go-to-market strategy. You cannot, same
sure,
product is not going to work for SMEs pricing wise and enterprises. You're not going to be able to
absolutely.
cater to all of
Our
those.
core focus is on the SMEs. We are going after SMEs in tier 2 towns.
SMEs.
The reason being,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I think
Tier
it'll be helpful to sort of talk about that early on, but good. Okay, thank you. I understand.
Sure.
And
So we
SMEs
are
on the manufacturing side are your customers. Who's the customer? Whose problem are you solving?
SMEs on the manufacturing side. So anybody who is manufacturing, say and essentially we are talking about the building material and the entire manufacturing sector, where your people like paint manufacturers, plywood manufacturers, the wires and cable manufacturers, and these kind of people would come in. So these
And
are the main
SMEs,
customers as of
how would you sort of characterize the SME, Shatosh, just in terms of the revenue or whatever?
So actually, those details are there in some of the subsequent slides, but I'll come to that. We are looking at SMEs who are who have the turnover anywhere between 50 to 500 crores.
50 to 500 crores. Okay, got it.
Yeah, so our products obviously are different for each. I mean, somebody who has a 50 crore revenue will obviously take a more plain vanilla product to solve primary issues like leakages and essentially the engagement bit. Additional things like analytics, things like credit financing, and all those things will be coming in. The QR code track and trace that you see on the slide right now. These are things which will come in for the higher end, SMEs with higher revenue. But at this stage, we are looking at people with both the spectrums.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Keep
So,
going.
yeah, any questions, Ramana?
No, you can keep going. Do you want me to change the slide?
No. This is one slide I would just want to spend say 10 seconds on. So our building blocks of the solution are essentially an end-to-end loyalty suite, which involves the complete end-to-end program management and everything.
Okay,
Second is the demand generation.
can you hang on? Double click down on that. You just mentioned all these things about paint and wires and so forth. How does it fit into what loyalty are we talking about? Paint. Let's take the example of paint. Who are you talking about? Paint manufacturer or
Let me
paint?
give you an example.
Yeah.
Let me give you an
Use
example.
case
Suppose
and
there is a
examples are really important. We are not understanding what's happening here.
yes. So let's say there is let's say there is Bareilly as a place which is in the outskirts of Delhi.
Yeah.
Okay, we are talking to a manufacturer of electrical equipment, electrical wiring and equipments in Bareilly. This person has his entire own manufacturing of electrical pipes, electrical wires, and everything, and he also deals in say appliances like fans and geysers, etc. Now
Yeah.
he provides this to say about 300 odd retailers, and then these retailers are further connected with electricians who are called influencers. So the entire channel works like this. This guy is our core customer for the loyalty program. He launches the loyalty program for the retailers. Why would he do that? Simply because There are other brands also that retailer is stocking, and there is an incentive additionally over and above the sales schemes and everything that needs to be given to the retailer.
Okay.
Now, the next layer of this would be the influencer, who is the electrician who goes and picks up these products from the retailer's shop and fixes it in one of the houses like that of ours. Why would that program be for the influencer? Is again because of the same reason, that the influencer also has an option to choose maybe between 4 or 5 brands, but because there is another brand which is giving him a better discount. One could be a sales discount, the other could be a additional program offering, which is allowing him to be a part of a community, and he gets a lot many benefits. So this is the entire channels loyalty and influencer loyalty space that works in. We are solving that entire thing.
So Ashutosh, if we had this discussion at the onset of this presentation, it would be a lot easier to follow this presentation. So I think you should start with
Sure.
an example.
Sure.
Okay, and explain whose problem are you solving, and here's an example, here's a use case, and take it from there. That would make this presentation flow much better.
Yeah.
Sure. Will do. Thank
And
you.
also, Ashutosh, just one thing, there are a lot of words in each of your slides. See, what typically happens is, certainly for me, and I suspect for a lot of others, you end up wanting to read the slides, and it's hard to follow what you're telling us, right? So just you want to keep much more white space, fewer words, the better on your
Sure.
slides. If there are pictures, that's even better to communicate a message, but otherwise, yeah, you
3
can get
bullet
lost.
points in large letters is the maximum that people can absorb in one slide.
Yep, yeah.
Sure. Sure. So quickly now, now that we've spoken a lot about how we are doing this and the use cases, there are two big needs, and this again will be the slide in front of you will be more relevant in case of an SME. There are two key business needs that would an SME would focus. One is expansion, one is engagement. Now, expansion is where the SME wants to expand its business to newer retailers and influencers. We are addressing that with two of our modules, one being Talk Reach and Talk Influence. What happens in Talk Reach is that, like I gave you the entire chain, there is one retailer who works with, say, 10 influencers. Now, the influencers are a gig working community. They work with multiple other people. They keep hopping from one place to the other, and they keep buying their material and everything from those different places. Now, they realize that, there is a particular retailer who is not a part of the program. So they refer that retailer to the program. So a verified lead comes in to the anchor meaning the business owner. Similarly, and vice versa, what happens is if the retailer is working with multiple influencers and he realizes that one of those electricians or plumbers or painters is not part of the program, he refers that person and that lead comes in. This mechanism essentially ensures that one, we are getting verified leads. Two, we are reducing the cost of acquisition for the manufacturer by more than 50%. So there is growth happening at with the verified leads. And once that growth is coming in parallel, there is an engagement module called Talk Engage, which runs, which is the entire loyalty-based module. So this is how we are generating demand as well as, engaging with the people. These are our three key modules that we work with.
That's good.
Now, yeah, how do we do this with this? So there are some nuts and bolts with this. One is the app which we provide to the retailer or the influencer, and the CMS portal that sits with the manufacturer or our own client. Aadhaar based PAN KYC, which helps us get verified leads and stops leakages and prevents fraud. Customized rewards, where we have partnership with multiple reward partners, which has say about 3,500 plus brands, and any denomination between 50 to 10,000 rupees. So we have that. Referral and gamification module is the core of our demand generation piece, where we allow people to refer and maybe play a game and earn more points. So everybody has in a win-win situation. Now, typically with these gig economy kind of people, they might be those who may not want to have your online Amazon vouchers or online, travel vouchers. They may want the money to be in their bank account. So if I have earned 100 points and I'm an electrician, I may want 100 rupees back in my bank account. So UPI and bank integration is built in there. QR code is a completely independent module built in to ensure that easy tracking, tracing of the goods is happening, and easy reward collection and points accrual keeps happening. And on top of all of this, the reporting module to check the program health.
So,
Now,
Ashutosh, in the interest of
yeah.
time, can we go to where you are? Is this a business that has already started? Are you already working on this? What's happening?
We are at a pre-revenue stage at this point of time. We have the MVP ready. We are pitching to clients. We are talking to multiple clients. We are at advanced stages of discussion with clients. But as of now, we haven't started clocking in revenues that much.
So before you started building this product, what kind of validation did you do?
Well, there were multiple, clients and the multiple people who we spoke to, where we actually tried and understood what are the challenges in the loyalty programs that they have today. Would they be actually? So there was a small survey questionnaire that we sent out to people who we know. I'll be honest on that one. So we sent out to different people who are working at multiple places and who are handling these kind of programs. We tried finding out what are the challenges that they have, what is it that they are looking for, and based on those inputs and finally talking to retailers, customers and everything, we did a small basic primary research and understood how things would what would help them. And then
Ashutosh, what is your background? You and your co-founder? I mean,
I
how
come
did you
from
get
a
into
market
this
research.
space? And just go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I come from a market research, consumer insights background, strategy, and I my last role was with media strategy. My co-founder is a techie, so he's a complete tech guy, and he's the one who has built the entire thing, the program that works together.
Okay. And I know earlier I said, when somebody comes up with a, idea saying this is AI, this thing AI, I become a bit skeptical. But at the same time, there's no reference to AI anywhere in your presentation. So I'm just curious,
Yes,
how,
I
how does that change in terms of your technology, or, does
well,
it make
this
something
slide
more possible now? Or go ahead. Yeah.
you brought this point at the very right slide, Raju. This slide actually answers this. If you look at the 5-year projection, kind of the line that we have mentioned here, allow me 30 seconds to explain this slide. See, we are starting AI. Yes, we are calling it AI today, but as of now, right in the initial stages, there won't be any role of AI as such in our program. What we will be doing, the way we are looking at it is that, once we start the demand generation module and verified retailers and influencers start coming on board our platform, in say a 3 to 5 years time, we will be having verified data of about close to about 50 lakh influencers and about 5 lakh retailers. Assumption being that one retailer will be at least working with, say, 10 of maybe electricians or painters or somebody. So 1:10, that kind of a ratio, we'll be having that kind of data. Now, that is where the entire AI piece kicks in, and we will be using this data to help brands expand into territories that they are not currently present and they would wish to. So I can go to a brand there, that time, and tell them that, this you want to expand to Andhra Pradesh. Yes, I have say 30,000 retailers and maybe 2
Yeah.
lakh
Yeah. No, I
influencers.
understand that part of it, but there must be, I mean, what is the competitive landscape for this? I'm sure there are a bunch of other brand loyalty products out there in the market, and they have, enormous amounts of data with them already. So how do you
Actually,
then
no.
differentiate and
Actually,
all
no.
of that?
I will tell you that, I started with saying that most of the loyalty programs today are, either earn and burn kind of programs. They are just focusing on giving you points and getting you and redeeming of those points. At best, there are programs which allow you to do some communication. We have actually started this with a completely different thought, where we said that we will try and do growth, because that was the equation which is many of the marketing managers and people told us that I really don't know. I'm spending say $100 on a loyalty program, but I don't know how much of there is no correlation between that and sales. I don't know how much I get. Is that guy who I'm paying out or I'm giving him some rewards, is he really referring me? Is he really doing something good for me? So that
Ashutosh,
correlation, yes.
from what I can see here is you want to build some sort of a software as a service business catering to the manufacturers, and then you want to build some sort of a lead generation business when you bring together the data that is of the what you call influencers and retailers.
Correct.
As far as I'm concerned, the value actually is in that lead generation business.
Yes.
If you, let's say you focus on a particular segment, you gave us the example of the electrician, right? The electrician supply chain and where the electrician's buying all the electrical products from and the manufacturers of the electrical products. If you complete that full supply chain and have a very good database of that supply chain, then you can be in that entire business right away. And that business, if you tell a manufacturer that, hey, we are going to help you with lead generation to distribute your electrical products to the retailers as well as to the electricians, and manage this whole supply chain, manage the marketing, the channel management, etc., all these things that you're talking about, that is a compelling proposition. But I haven't heard that pitch. That is not the pitch you gave us.
Okay.
So the way you're framing this business, I don't think works very well. The pitch doesn't work. So you're going to need.
So you're suggesting that we talk about the lead gen first, and back it up with the backbone being loyalty. Is that what you're suggesting,
I think the loyalty pitch is incredibly unclear. The way you pitch this business is super unclear. As we say, it's clear as mud. So that's not you. If your intent is to raise money, first and foremost, you're nowhere near ready to raise money. This has to be validated much more with a lot more engagement with customers before any investor is going to touch this with a 10-foot pole. So, but before that, there's a lot of work to be done to clarify what is this business. It's not clear at all what this business is. And I'm even going one step further and changing. I'm suggesting that you change what your business is. So there's a ton of work that needs to be done here to even get you, ready to talk to investors. So my advice is, please do not talk to investors right now. You're going to get 50,000 rejections is what you're going to get. Don't go talk to investors right now.
Sure.
Raju, do you want to add to that?
No, I think you summarized it very well, and I love the candor with which you're. Again, Ashutosh, you should understand, the really good advisors are people who are, willing to tell you, the things as they see it, right? So don't be disheartened. First of all, I mean, congrats. It's not too many people who, sort of decide to pursue this path of entrepreneurship. So the fact that you chosen to do it is great, because the world needs more entrepreneurs and more of them to succeed. But I think, you have to really narrow it down to sort of, the segment of, I never got the comfort. If you said, hey, here is the market space for brand loyalty programs, right? Here are the big players, this is what they do. And here is sort of the white space that is not addressed. And why you think you have an understanding of that, and also how you might go about addressing it, right? And with respect to pitching it to investors, absolutely, Sramana is completely right. If you said, hey, here is, some validation that I already got, right? I think that will go a long way after, the other things that she and I covered. Yeah. But yeah, you. One of the things is, India, I mean, GDP, I don't know what it is, 3.84 trillion, growing at, 6 or 7%. So when you project out over the next 10 years, I like the fact that you talked about how these are not necessarily the SMEs, but the fact that these are more in the tier 2 towns and sort of beyond the metros, right? There's a lot of India GDP growth that's coming in those, geographies. And that's kind of what you're capitalizing on in some fashion, right? So if you gave us a little bit of those sort of macro picture, talking points, to say why your idea sort of that time is right. And then the next question is, but there are 20 other brand loyalty apps and products already out there. So why, in what ways are you different? And, how would you go about it? Then third part of it is, yeah, here is some early validation, right? Then you have investors' interest. But anyway, yeah,
Right.
good.
Folks, we're going to spend a few minutes. I'll explain to you how to use 1 million by 1 million for those of you who are looking for help. 1M is the first and only global virtual accelerator for technology startups anywhere in the world. Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 5 cities, it doesn't matter. You can use 1M. We have companies using 1M from all different corners of the world. We even have students in Kazakhstan, Africa, so on. And I find that thrilling, frankly. We have a huge support for bootstrapped entrepreneurship. And the truth is, the best model for raising money is bootstrap first, raise money later, once you validate. And that validation has to be done in a bootstrap mode. No investor today gives you money to validate. That is just not how the investor ecosystem works. So you have a few different options of how to engage with 1M. The premium program is our full acceleration program. You get to subscribe for 1 year, and you have weekly roundtables like this where you can come and discuss your project, get feedback, iterate. And then coupled with that is a curriculum that you can learn from. We have a very, very extensive, powerful curriculum full of case studies. There have been thousands of entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, who have participated in that case study program. So you're not just learning from me, you're learning from thousands of successful entrepreneurs who have done it before. So once you have, like, for example, if Ashutosh is in the program, we're going to iterate and get him to a point where, in my judgment, he is fundable. At that point, we do have relationships with many, many hundred, thousands actually, of investors with whom, to whom we can send him. And that is based on what we call investor entrepreneur fit. Just like you're looking for product market fit, you also have to find investor entrepreneur fit. Investors invest in different geographies, different product sectors, different stages. Some people like pre-seed, some people like seed, some people like post-seed, pre-series A. There's a whole spectrum. The early stage investment has now fragmented quite significantly. So you have to understand all of these investor entrepreneur fit issues. And then we also have a lot of influence, especially on LinkedIn, where I'm a top influencer, and you get to use that influence in your sales and marketing as part of the premium program. Now, if you want to just use the curriculum and start learning, we do have a lot of entrepreneurs in the program who are still working. They have their day jobs, and they're starting to think about entrepreneurship and starting to learn. And for them, 1M Basic, which is our curriculum only option, is also a very reasonable place to start. So go to the website, look at what to expect from premium, basic. We get requests for one-on-one consulting. You can get one-on-one consulting if you're obsessed about privacy and so on. You can get it. It is a lot more expensive. Whereas 1M premium is $1,000 for 1 year. One-on-one consulting is $1,000 per hour. So you don't necessarily need it. If you're obsessed about it, you can have it. So we have free roundtables coming up every week, every Thursday right now. Go ahead and go to the free roundtable page on the website and register and book your slot, and Maureen will make sure you have time to present here. If you have questions about the program after today, Irina Patterson is your contact, irina@1mby1m.com. She can talk to you on WhatsApp, phone, Skype, whatever. We can take more questions. If you have more questions, we are currently available to take more questions. You can put in your questions in the public chat, or you can raise your hand and Maureen will put you on as a panelist. You can ask through the computer as well. Junaid is asking, can you please explain about the validation in Bootstrap? How many customers or revenue should I have to prove the validation or other metrics may be? So Junaid, this is very specific to your business. So an enterprise customer, let's say you're in the enterprise business, enterprise software business. The requirements are different from if you're in a B2B SaaS business or in a B2C consumer business. So the metrics are different, and also there are types of engagement, types of customer reference customers, beta customers that really show that yes, you have something here that drive the validation and readiness, investor readiness. Do you want to add anything to that, Raju?
No, I think.
Do you have any metrics that you use in terms of what you look for in validation?
Yeah, I think with most of these, just you have your first, establishing that there's a real need for what you have, and then, if you get to a stage where you can show that your gross margins, at scale will be sort of in line. So sometimes if it costs you so much more, especially with the infra costs and whatever else, then you don't have a viable business. So the question is, it's not just whether you have the right product, but do you also have the right pricing model?
Unit economics are important, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Junaid, my suggestion to you is bring your business and book a slot to present, and we can give you more specific feedback that is based on your pitch rather than generics. Generics are not very helpful. Every business has its own characteristics and factors. Anybody else? Any other questions, comments, issues? I don't see any more hands up, so we're going to wrap up today and see you next week. Raju, thank you very much for participating. It was great to see you and chat with you. Look forward to having you back again sometime.
Thank you, Sramana. Enjoyed that. Yeah. And keep up your good work. Yeah.